Welcome to another new episode. Like always, today we are here with an exciting topic that will boost your knowledge. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the main discussion.
Let's jump right in. Today, we're unpacking an absolute nightmare of a catastrophe that just hit the Nepal-China border. It literally wiped out lives and infrastructure in the blink of an eye. We're talking about an event that completely reshaped a mountain valley in a matter of seconds, turning a super busy international crossing into an unrecognizable landscape of mud and debris. It's a highly complex, terrifying event, and to truly grasp the scale of what happened, we need to break down the mechanics, the impact, and the underlying causes.
To really understand how terrifying this was, just picture the scene at 9 a.m. in the Timur and Safrabesi settlements. These aren't just quiet little outposts, right? They sit right on the riverbank and serve as major staging points for trekkers heading into the Langtang Valley and pilgrims traveling toward Kailash Mansarovar. They were crowded with vehicles, cargo, and travelers. And then the frame just goes brown. Mud and boulders swallow the road in seconds. People had barely any time to react as a literal wall of earth and water just swallowed the terrain.
And the sheer speed of this thing, it's staggering. Look at this timeline. Right at 9 a.m. local time, the surge hits the Bote Koshi River in the Rasua district, which is home to about 50,000 people. By mid-morning, it's already tearing through the border checkpoints, and it doesn't stop. By the afternoon, it sweeps away around 60 houses near Trishuli Bazaar, burying ground floors in mud kilometers away from where it started. By evening, the massive Gundak River system, which eventually crosses all the way into India, is placed on high alert with increased security.
But this brings us to a really crucial question. How on earth does a massive flood happen without a single drop of rain? Seriously, when we think of floods, we associate them with days of relentless heavy storms, right? But here, the sky didn't open up, there were no storm warnings, no rainfall alerts. So what exactly unleashes an entire river of mud and boulders down a mountain valley completely out of the blue?
Well, Nepal's foreign minister actually broke down the terrifying chain reaction for parliament, and it's basically a devastating geological puzzle. Step 1. A preliminary assessment points to an earthquake hitting high up in the Himalayas, which triggers a massive avalanche of ice and rock. Step 2. All that debris slides down, choking the river and forming this huge temporary dam. But the river keeps flowing from the source, building up unimaginable pressure behind this fragile wall of loose rock and ice. And then, Step 3. That temporary dam inevitably fails under the immense weight. Everything held behind it comes roaring down the valley all at once.
We call this a single violent pulse, and it is exactly why these settlements had absolutely zero time to react. This wasn't a gradually rising tide where you grab your bags and head for higher ground. It was an immediate, massive surge of debris and water. Think of it less like a flood and more like an explosion of mud, rock, and water. That's why the destruction was so absolute and instantaneous when it slammed into those crowded border checkpoints.
Tragically, the human toll here is staggering. Out of 384 missing people, the vast majority are international travelers, pilgrims, and hydro workers using this heavily trafficked mountain corridor. The Nepal Tourism Board pulled these numbers from travel agencies, and it paints a clear picture of just how global this tragedy is. We're looking at 105 Indian citizens, 93 Nepalese, along with British, Malaysian, South African, Australian, Dutch, and American citizens. There are also 8 South Korean hydro workers completely unaccounted for.
Right now, Bagmati Province police have confirmed a death toll of 31. But honestly, officials fully expect that number to climb significantly. You have to remember, in this super rugged area, phone and internet services have been totally destroyed. So while a lot of those 384 missing might just be cut off from communication, the sheer scale of the mudslide means search and recovery teams are bracing for that 31 to skyrocket as they continue digging through the debris.
And the rescue operations? Absolutely harrowing. We've seen footage from the Nepali army where survivors literally caked to the shoulders in gray silt are being winched up into hovering aircraft. Because the river remained well above its normal channel and the mud was everywhere, helicopters couldn't even find solid ground to land on in the worst-hit areas. Imagine that. Crews had to hover midair for hours, dropping cables to pull injured people directly off rooftops or right out of the treacherous sledge itself.
Beyond the horrific human cost, the infrastructure collapse has dealt a massive blow to Nepal's power grid. The Energy Ministry reported that 430 megawatts of power were instantly knocked offline. You know, when a steep Himalayan valley gets wiped out, everything in it goes too. And unfortunately, these valleys are exactly where nations build their power infrastructure.
Just look at the major hydroelectric facilities sitting right in the destructive path. The Sanjan Kola, Upper Trishuli 3A, Chilime, Devi Ghat, and the massive 111 megawatt Rasuagati project all took a hit. Together, these make up over 12% of Nepal's entire 3.2 gigawatt hydropower capacity. Knocking out a tenth of a nation's power in a single morning, that turns a localized tragedy into a full-blown national energy crisis. Long-term recovery just became exponentially harder.
And the economic shockwaves are definitely crossing borders. China's leadership has ordered an all-out search effort because their critical Gyirong Port checkpoint was utterly devastated, with state media reporting major casualties. On the Nepal side, the Rasua Customs Complex, a massive trade gateway, was completely overrun. Vehicles and stored goods just washed away. A brand new border bridge, outright destroyed. With roads, communications, and power severed, cross-border commercial traffic has quite literally ground to a halt. But here is the most crucial and frankly terrifying point to take away from all this. This was not an isolated freak accident. It is part of a grim, heavily documented trend. Just over a year ago, a flash flood tore through this exact same corridor, killing 9 people, leaving 20 missing, and washing away the friendship bridge between Nepal and China. We are seeing repeated, high-energy disasters completely reshaping this mountain pass in a very short time frame.
That event last year, it was actually triggered by the sudden draining of a super glacial lake. These are high-altitude meltwater ponds perched way up above 5,000 meters. The pattern here is deeply alarming. As temperatures rise across the Himalayas, the frozen ground that holds these steep slopes together is thawing. The ice melts, pooling into these massive lakes that are essentially acting as ticking time bombs suspended directly above populated valleys.
And what's holding all that water back? This contrast is what's really terrifying. Unlike a man-made dam that's carefully engineered to withstand immense water pressure and seismic activity, these huge meltwater ponds are held together by nothing more than loose moraine, just loose dirt, rocks, and melting ice. So you've got a highly unstable natural dam sitting in one of the most earthquake-prone places on Earth. The ice is melting, the ground is shaking. It's literally a recipe for a catastrophic collapse.
Which leaves us with this final, urgent thought. As our climate fundamentally changes the geology of these mountains, how do we possibly protect the millions of people living downstream from these invisible threats lurking above? We're clearly entering an era where massive, high-energy floods can tear through a border checkpoint, wiping out bridges and hydropower plants, without a storm warning, without a single drop of rain, and without a second to react. Figuring out early warning systems for these high-altitude events isn't just an engineering problem anymore. It's a matter of absolute survival.
How did you like today's discussion? If you have any questions about this topic, don't forget to let me know in the comment. Stay well, stay healthy.